Hey, folks, welcome to The View and episode 4, I think, of the podcast. Another Friday/Saturday morning upload for everybody. Joined by Joe Wayman from Just Joe. Joe, how's it going?
All good in the hood, Joe. Thanks for having me again. I hope you're doing well, pal.
No problem, pal. Happier than you were the last time we had you?
Yeah, massively. Got to win the league.
HMS Pistol League. Here we go.
Exactly.
Let's get going. We've got Locky from Locky Leeds. Ben, how's things, mate?
Yeah, not bad. I've been putting a stand-up table all day, so I'm a bit stressed. So I've got my stress ball with me. Yeah, but apart from that, great. Yeah. How are you?
Can I just say, I did not know his name was Ben.
There you go.
There you go. Just saying.
You didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure I told him first time I joined his live, but
Sure you did.
We move.
You can find Ben Locke daily on the Just Joe show, by the way. Below Ben, we have got Max from Leeds lately. Max, how's things?
Good, thank you. Yeah, a bit more optimistic after last night, which we'll get into. But yeah, I'm feeling good about things.
Great. And we've got Ollie Ward as well to wrap up the bunch from the Ollie Ward channel. Ollie, how's it going?
Yeah, all good, mate. I'm the same with everyone else. Winning the league now, mate. Winning the league, I tell you.
It's amazing when we lose a friendly at pre-season. It's don't read too much into it. But when we win a pre-season friendly, it's winning the league. We're winning the league.
Yeah.
We got this.
Those are
right,
the
we're
rules
back on
out
again
here
to start off. I'm going to start with you, Ollie. Karl Darlow, which will happen at some point in the next, I don't know, immediate future, I suppose, at some point. Expect to be today or possibly Monday. How do you feel about that decision? There's a lot of conversations around that we're better off sticking around with a 23-year-old young goalkeeper who may end up being a very, very good goalkeeper, or are we better replacing him with who has been historically a second choice goalkeeper in his 30s?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Karl Darlow is a good goalkeeper. I think Meslier, in fairness to him, has had a decent pre-season. Looks better with his feet. Looks more confident. I don't know. You know, I think the kind of love's lost from last year with Meslier, unfortunately. And I think he's one of them players that we could get some money for now. We need to sell off a few of these, players to bring in players, and I think Meslier should be one of them. Karl Darlow, if it's right, reported around £400,000. If that is right, that's an absolute steal. Like you said, for a lot of his career, he's always been the second choice goalkeeper. I think it's about time he has, a permanent club, and it's going to be Leeds United. And I hope he does okay, because I've always rated Karl Darlow, but he's never, he's never played enough that I can sit here and say I've watched him all the time. But yeah, I'm happy with the transfer when it gets done, obviously.
Yeah, he's always been that goalkeeper where he's good enough to get you up, and he's probably good enough if you're down around the bottom of the league. But if you want to move on, they usually replace him with somebody else, which I always feel is unfortunate. He never gets a chance to play with a better defence in front of him higher up the table. Max, you've done a lovely breakdown video and work on Karl Darlow coming into Leeds. What should we expect?
Well, I think one of the best things about this is the fact that he did play at Hull on loan for the second half of last season, because he has regular game time for the last 6 months, and he's in a championship side who, let's be honest, Hull weren't very good in that time, and they lost most of the games whilst he was there. But despite that, he still performed well, and also he proved to a lot of people who have said that there was a lot of concerns about whether he could play out with his feet. He played a lot of passes from the back and a lot of accurate passes in that time that he spent at Hull City. So I think it's really good. And I think I mentioned this the other day, but the fact that it's only going to be 400,000 allows us to use the money that we would have spent on a £5-6 million keeper to pump that into the budget for a striker. Say, if Joel Perreault is going to cost 15 million, and we would have spent 5 or 6 million on a goalkeeper, you take the money that you've saved on Darlow, pump it into the striker the budget, and you might be able to then actually go for a striker that's that expensive. But Karl Darlow himself, I think it's just a solid, sensible signing. That's the thing for me. And I said this in my video. I admitted that I have been a bit of a football hipster over the last couple of years, and I've looked at that. Somebody from Europe, somebody like Nubel, he's like the next coming of Neuer, and we could get him for fairly cheap, and he could be the next best thing. But sometimes you just need to be sensible. Somebody who played in the Championship last year, he's decent. He can play with his feet. He's a decent shot stopper. He claims the ball as well, which is the main thing for me. He comes off his line and he actually comes and tries to win it, which we didn't really have with Meslier. And I said the other week, I think it was on Joe's show, we need a different type of goalkeeper now, and I think he is that.
Yeah, Locky, what do you think about the situation?
Yeah, I agree with Max. Just to further on his time at Hull, I think he had like 73% save percentage or something like that, which is one of the highest in the league. So you know what you can do there, shot stopping. I think just in terms of who he is as well, I wouldn't describe him as a ball playing goalkeeper, but he's a keeper that can play with it. He's not terrible at it. He can do it. He at Hull played out from the back when Liam Rossini went in there last season. They start to do that, hence why they got Darlow in and why he did really well in that sense. Yeah, sensible. He's won the league, right? Or he went up with Newcastle.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Got experience. 400k is absolutely nothing. In the Championship, it's nothing at all. So I don't see any negatives to it, to be honest. I think it's really good.
Especially when it's 400k. That changes the conversation pretty much across the board. When it was 5-6 million, I'll be honest, at 5 and 6 million, I would have thought, I can't see many people batting an eyelid at that. It's an experienced goalkeeper. 5-6 million, probably about right. And then you see 400k. Joe, nice to get that in, isn't it?
Yeah, really nice, pal. Because I you know me, like I can try. I sometimes try spin a yarn, right? So like when people are going, it's too high the figure, and I'm going and defending it, saying 5 to 6. It's not that bad, you know. Come on, like he's got Premier League experience. So the fact that we're picking him up for 400k, you're right, mate. Is it's insane bit of business. And Nick Hammond, I think Locky said it a few times, like they're 3 from 3 now or 4 from 4. So the signings they're making are good. And yeah, what does it mean for Meslier now? I'm not too sure. There's a lot of people saying, oh, they compete. No, Darlow's coming in as the number one. Meslier is going to be sold. But yeah, I like the signing. I genuinely like the signing, and the fact that he's won the league at Newcastle. He's had minutes in the Premier League. You know, he played a full season, I think, in the Premier League, and was always good when he was called upon. Newcastle fans can't speak highly enough of him. So I think it's a good signing, mate, and I think he'll be very good for where we're at right now.
I think it's a change of tack, isn't it? It's a change of approach.
Yeah.
It's let's get an experienced spine to this team. We'll start off with an experienced goalkeeper. That kind of just settles in areas we saw. I mean, I said it bast year about Robles coming in, not saying that Robles is a better goalkeeper than Meslier, but what he did bring was a hell of a lot more vocal leadership from the back, you know, constantly talking to the back line, constantly telling them where to go. And arguably coming into his 30s, he's only coming into his prime now. Most goalkeepers peak in their 30s is about learning and experience. Keep saying that about Meslier, he's 23. Imagine he's going to be a cracking goalkeeper by the time he gets to 33. So it's great to see that with Darlow coming in. Joe, working in reverse here, are you concerned that it's still not done and that it's still technically only one transfer in with the league kicking off next week?
No, I'm not. I mean, I think because I know he's going to be signed, that like it's cool. If he'd have been signed on Friday, let's say for example, I'd probably put Friday. I keep thinking it's Monday. Sorry, Joe. If he'd have been signed a couple of days ago, right, then the silence since I'd have been going, when's the next one coming through? I'm pulling my hair out. Because we're still waiting on an official announcement, I'm cool with it. I'm confident based on what Farke has said that we're going to get more bodies in as well. I think we have to wait for maybe some to exit. I know Graham Smith's done a piece about Premier League clubs returning back. I'd have liked it to have been quicker, but I think we've seen as pre-season's gone, they've looked better. They look good against Forest. And, you know, I have no issues that we've got enough to see us till the end of the month. You know, we've got enough in the squad right now to be taking on Cardiff and the like and still getting results for me, Joe.
Yeah, we move on to talk about that a little bit then as well. The game against Forest last night, we saw what starting to look like a pretty stable starting 11. I think it's clear to see what Farke is trying to do now in terms of the players that are starting the pitch. I think the one surprise last night was Sam Byram, but I think that's more out of necessity than anything else. There's nobody else to play in that position, and Stroke's not going to play there anymore. So the game itself, fantastic performance, kept an awful lot of the ball and scored 2 pretty good goals. Locky, you happy enough with what you saw last night?
I was more than happy, mate. I think it was, and I kind of expected a better performance, obviously, than the Monaco one. But what we got is in that first half, especially with the strongest side, whatever. I guess maybe we don't really know yet, do we? But what we believe to be, it just like I tweeted saying, we just looked really well coached. We did. Every player, the balance from the fullbacks was really good. The midfield, Ampadu's a joke of a player. Like, what was he doing in the Championship? I don't know. But him, and then looking at players like Sinistera, who wasn't even at his best, but still one of the best players on the pitch. You know, I just think the whole balance of the squad, the understanding of each player looks. I know Forest are behind in their kind of thing out there, but we look much better than them. They looked a real mess, and I just think looking at championship teams, you know, there's going to be a lot of teams that don't quite have them stars that we have, those standout players. And I just think if we can keep doing this, keep adding to it, and remember, Farke still got what 9 days before the season, 8 days. That's a lot of training to build on this. Yeah, I was very impressed, to be honest.
Max, what was that stood out to you most in the game? There's been a lot of talk this week. Cooper kind of did a piece yesterday where basically he said that when they came back to preseason training, they struggled a little bit with the passing drills and the fitness drills again, and they kind of almost felt it was alien to them and that they'd forgotten how to do it because of the last 18 months of not doing it. They seem to have adapted pretty well to it in this short space of time. Did it stand out to you last night?
I think it's like riding a bike. When you get back on the bike at first, you're a little bit wobbly. But then when you get your pedals going, you start to remember, oh, yeah, I remember how to do this. And I think that's what they're going to be like. It's not the same way that Bielsa played, but it is similar in terms of philosophy, pressing high, winning the ball, and keeping the ball, keeping the possession and trying to play through the lines. And I think that will come back to a lot of the players. And given the fact he's actually had a pre-season, well, most of a pre-season, because obviously it took him a while to actually get in. But yeah, I think it's all starting to come together a little bit more now. And aside from actual individual performances, which I think we'll get into a little bit, won't we? But the actual, the thing that impressed me most, I think, was the fact that when we took off all our experienced players and put on our younger players, we didn't fall apart. And we have actually seen that under Jesse Marsh and under Gracia. We changed personnel and the tide turned and we started to lose our grip on things. Forest did have the better of it, actually, after we took those subs, but not massively. It changed slightly, but we didn't concede. We stayed solid. We just weren't quite as potent in attack. And I think that's something really good to have because, like I say, a lot of the times over the last season or two, we've put young players on, or we've put other players on that weren't the starters, and things started to go wrong. And I think the fact that we were able to hold on, and not even uncomfortably, I think we were quite comfortable holding on to that and to still win the game. So, yeah, I was quite impressed with the way that the youngsters dealt with it. Even though it's a preseason friendly, it's still a bit of pressure to come on and do a job when you're coming on for Luis Sinisterra, for example.
Yeah, Ollie, it's been an interesting preseason. All up, we've seen 2 games where we had 2-0 defeats, and I love a clean sheet every now and then. It's been so long since Leeds have kept a clean sheet and so infrequent. It's great to see them keep one last night and score a couple of goals. But as a totality kind of thing, when you look at the preseason so far and Farke's stamp on the team, what are your thoughts heading into the last preseason friendly this weekend against Hearts, but then more importantly Cardiff next week?
Yeah, I'm feeling, I think you said at the start of the show, when it's a preseason loss, you kind of go, well, don't read into it. But when it's a win, you're like, okay, we're winning the league now. But yeah, I'm feeling confident. It feels like there's an actual, I think I mentioned it on, last week and on the last podcast. It actually feels like we've got a manager now. I feel like Gracia, Scoob's obviously done a bit, even Marsh, Allardyce, they were kind of just, substitute teachers. We've now got our, we've got a manager here. We're playing his system, and I'm feeling good. I said to you, off camera, I didn't actually watch the game last night. I went back and watched the highlights, and we just looked better. I think we looked a lot better than a Premier League outfit, which is good. I think that performance last night definitely put a couple of fans at ease. Yes, we need more players. Yes, maybe that team, that even plays first game against Cardiff might not be here at the end of August when we play Ipswich. But, we've just got to deal with it, really. We've got to deal with it. And I don't know. I'm more optimistic now than I have been, over the last few weeks.
Ipswich just beat RB Leipzig, by the way.
I know.
Says an awful lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Joe, you had a good look at the game last night. It's Nice to see Leeds playing passing football, but again, it was something that was almost foreign to me for a while watching the game. I was like, how long is this going to last for before somebody makes a mistake? And then Cooper fell over the ball on the edge of the box. I'm like, here we go. This is it now. And it wasn't. He seemed to recover really well. The back line sorted themselves out. The passing was consistent. There was some lovely moves down both flanks of the pitch, which was great to see. That overlapping and underlapping. It's this new narrow fullback system where they underlap the wingers, which I really like. Refreshing to see it back again. I'm sure you were happy to see a Bielsa-esque style, I suppose, performance. But also, what were your thoughts on the game all up?
Yeah, like just overjoyed, like you say, to see us playing football. And I think the key point for me is to remember that come the end of August, then this team's going to be flying. Do you know what I mean? I think with the opposition that we're going to be coming up against, the players that we'll have at our disposal, I think when you look at it through a Leeds United lens, we ain't got enough. But if you actually, take a step back and remove the emotion of it, I think the team's still apt and still can control and be towards the top end of the league, especially playing the way that we seen last night against the Premier League outfit. Locky was right in saying, okay, they're not as far on as us in pre-season, but we've seen it get better each game. I think Max was bang on. There was no drop off when the changes were made. I like Sam Byram. I loved Sam Byram anyway when he burst onto the scene. Like at times playing like right wing. Whenever he got the ball, I was like, oh, this kid's special. That's what I thought, being in the ground watching the games. I want him to do well, and I think he did really well last night. I just enjoyed watching us keep the ball, and also, I guess not always fun, full throttle. Yeah. When there wasn't the passes on, they were more than happy to go back and start again, which I think sometimes maybe under Bielsa we didn't really do a lot of. It was always forward. Whereas I think there will be a little bit more pragmatism under Daniel Farke, which I think is what we thought we were getting under Javi, but it wasn't that. Do you know what I mean? I think Ethan Ampadu, my God, man. Like, what he can do with the football, even up the top end of the pitch, the reverse passes, the passes that the rest of the midfielders we have don't quite have in their locker for me. I don't think even sometimes Bamford was expecting them. And the more that they play with the striker, whoever that may be, if it's Bamford or someone else, then championship defenders won't be able to cope with that. And it's, I guess, German, I don't want to take over, but it's like, there's a conversation, sorry about the dog snoring, there's a conversation to be had here about whether or not we need Tyler Adams. Oof, that's a real topic that we need to have a discussion about. Or does Tyler Adams allow Ampadu to play further up the pitch? Because we've seen that he can do that. We've seen that yesterday. Yeah. But yeah, I think I would like a more, and leave Ampadu and move Adams on. Don't shoot me.
I think you can do. No, I think you can do both with Farke's system. I mean, people talk about double pivots and one will go and one will stay, but sometimes with a double, both can stay. You have two central defensive midfielders, especially when you're asking both wingers to push on and be attackers as well. That does leave you exposed at the back. Having those two sitting in front still gives you a back four. Your two centre halves split and your 2 10s drop in a little bit, and you've got a back four always, which keeps you safe. And one of the concerns I've always had about Leeds United, and especially the back end of Bielsa's term, was we will score some goals, but we're going to be really open at the back. And if we get caught, we will concede. And whereas last night, I think I wrote some notes down. I think I said, Leeds are defending better as a unit, but defensively as a back line, I still feel a little worried when we get caught in counterattacks. Having Ampadu or having a second defensive midfielder in there as well kind of calms it down a little bit for me. I thought Darko JB in the second half, especially when he did come in, was reading the game really well, nicking out little passes or interceptions that were in clever little spots in around the edge of the box, which we didn't have last year. So I think there's an argument. I think we should plan for a season and probably a future without Tyler Adams. Just going off Romano this morning, who was doing his best Eminem rap as fast as he could to tell us that he's probably going to go to the Premier League, and I think he probably is. But hey, if he stays, great. If he doesn't, I think we're okay. I think we'll bring in somebody else there anyway. But from what I saw of Ampadu in the middle of the park, happy enough with there. Shackleton was an interesting one for me as well. I have this thing about Shackleton. Look, I get your opinion on this as well, mate. But Jamie Shackleton doesn't do anything wrong, pretty much ever. He's fine. I never complain when he's on the pitch. You never talk about his lack of work rate. You never moan about missed passes or not tackling enough. He's I think you described some players before like a 7 out of 10, like, a good consistent 7 out of 10. I think Shaq's is like a good consistent 6.5 out of 10, where there's nothing spectacular, there's nothing fancy, there's probably a little bit missing to be an ever present. But I have no issue with him coming into this side and sticking around next season, looking at how he played, because again, when that fullback does go, he just fits into the fullback position really naturally. So from a tactical perspective, Locky, how do you feel that looks and how that's going to work with those players?
See, yeah, I thought that about. When I was doing my thing today, my review, I was struggling to rate him because he's that type of player. But I actually thought yesterday in midfield, I thought he did quite well with Ampadu. I thought they had, Ampadu did all the progression stuff, and Shaq did a really good job as well on counters and cancelling it out. He was very good at that. He could fit into the right back slot, which I really enjoy, a bit of versatility. But yeah, he's just not got that killer pass, that killer decision that will create a goal. But I still don't mind him as a squad player. I really don't. I'm not sitting here saying he should start, obviously. I just think as an option, you might get injuries. And if he can come on and see a game out in 20 minutes to go or something like that, I think is a really good option. But like with Ampadu, though, I think when a player comes in and performs like that, he's setting that standard. And every player needs to look and go, right, that's what we've got to do. And I think since he's been in, you can see that standard getting higher. Yeah, now, especially when these guys have come from the Premier League and Ampadu hasn't, he's saying, I don't care where you've come from. I'm the standard now. You've got to come up to mine. And I like that. We need that. We had that in Rafinha, pulling teams through, we've got that different type player, obviously, but that mentality. And the midfield for me, I like to say with Darko JB, I agree. I want him. He's got more attributes than that. He can progress it a lot better. He needs to be a bit more brave. Like us against Man United, I thought he was a lot braver against Man United. But he did come on. He calmed the game down. He kept the ball, kept it moving. And I think we actually showed in that second half that we don't have to go full throttle. We can calm it down and see a game out quite comfortably. So I think as a midfield balance, I think it was quite well. I still think, we need that Kamara, Mishu type player in there, a little bit of spice, But once we get that, I think we've got a really good balance. Archie Gray as well. Can't forget him. Just coming on leaps and bounds, that lad, isn't he? But yeah, a really good midfield balance for me. We just need a little bit more of spice in there, in my opinion.
Yeah. Max, a mix of pragmatism and patience with the Daniel Farke system. Nice passing, but as the lads have already said, if we can't go forward, the most important thing is to make sure we keep hold of the ball. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's where Ampadu plays in nicely as well defensively, and having the ball from the back is that he's always an option there. We've seen in the past that players in our midfield, especially last season, went missing and they weren't showing. They didn't even want the ball. Matt Rocker and whoever played alongside him when Adams was injured. I can't even remember now.
That's not a clue, was it?
That's a good thing. Actually purging your brain already.
Oh yeah, McKennie as well. Yeah, they weren't good enough on the ball. And somebody like Ampadu, he comes back and Coops has got the ball, Cresswell's got the ball, whoever's got the ball at the back, they're like, oh, Ampadu's always showing and is always an option, which means that when we do go back and we get the ball back to the defenders, they don't panic and just hoof it long. They've got an option. They've always got an option. So I think that's good that he can sit in there and really help them take the ball out from the back. And it's just about being patient as well, isn't it? Taking the ball to the back, he'll want them to play across out to the left back out to the right back, just slowly ticking away like a pendulum. And then when an opposition player makes a mistake, when they press at the wrong time or whatever, or a gap opens up, it's like bang, ball through that gap right into somebody's feet. And it's usually Ampadu playing it with a bit of pace into somebody's feet, and it gets us going again. And I think it's almost like, it's not like, it sounds like it's slow at first, but then when we get the chance to attack, it's like, bang, that ball has gone straight through, broke the lines, and we're on the attack then. It's not like we're slow. Like how Man City sometimes have to play around the penalty area for so long because everybody's just sat on their own goal line. I think, obviously, that's circumstance, but I think the way that we're going to play is a little bit more, when we get the ball through, it's like, bang, let's go. No, but not like Marsh. It's like, bang, let's go. But as soon as that play is gone, everybody knows what that trigger means. Ampadu plays the ball through, players all know what they're doing, and they've already started to learn that they can play on the last man and look over the top when Ampadu's got the ball. Saw Bamford do it a couple of times. He didn't manage to get on the end of anything, but he was like on the last man, looking back at Ampadu, waiting for him to send it because he knew that it was coming. So I think those mental connections are starting to build where people know where to be when somebody's got the ball. And that's what we had with Bielsa. Everybody knew what everybody's job was when the ball was in a certain area of the pitch. You can guarantee that Farke will have drawn out zones on the pitch on a tactics board, said, look, if the ball is here, this is where I want you to go. This is where I want you to go. And it's just so nice having those, when Scott Parker described it as a scripted patterns of play. But that's what you need to be a top side. You need everybody to know their jobs and responsibilities. And I think, like Joe was saying before, that is now starting to build, and you can start to see that it's improving game on game. And I think, playing out from the back is a big part of that, knowing where everybody's going to be.
Yeah, Ollie, what's stood out from what you've seen so far this preseason? What are the players, not necessarily just the players, but what areas have stood out the most to you since you've been watching the preseason?
I think it's similar to what everyone's been saying. The passing, it looks like we can pass, which, for the last 18 months, that hasn't been a thing. And I've been watching preseason games where I'm like, all right, who's going to mess it up then? And I haven't seen that. And it's similar to the fact, like we said with Bielsa, roles that everyone knows what they're doing, attacking and defending. And it's good. It's good to see players who have stood out for me this preseason. I've really I've really got the hype with Charlie Cresswell. I understand that now. Like you said with Shackleton, I completely agree with you that I never really know. He's kind of like, I never really know, because he never does anything wrong. So you never really know how to rate him. I kind of get what you mean by that. But everyone has just stood out for me. We just look more of a team, like instead of 11 individuals on the pitch, like we did for the last 18 months. I think we look like a team. And like I said to you before, I didn't watch last night, but all I'm hearing is high praise of, Ampadu, and I'm sure we'll get onto it, but players like Ian Poveda.
Yeah, and thank you for that segue, because that's exactly where I want to go next and talk about these. There was an interesting, this is what I thought was interesting yesterday in the game, was watching Joffy as a 10 and what he gives you as a 10, because I think he does give us something as a 10, and then watching Poveda as a 10 and getting a very different set of characteristics and attributes from him. Joe, from watching that game, you look at Joffy, when we do go those more direct passes into the corner, you get that double striker attack that Joffy gives you. You will get that extra body around the edge of the box looking for shots and supporting a striker. You do kind of maybe miss out the link-up play earlier on the pitch. Poveda seems to do that, especially when he went from the wing inside to the 10 position yesterday. All of a sudden, he looked like a much better player. He was dropping in really deep to get the ball, turning and running at players. How did you feel about Poveda when he did come on? But also, do you think there's an option there to chop and change those two, or do we still need number 10?
People won't like what I'm about to say, but we definitely need another a new number 10. I'm not here to gas up Jan Poveda. I think he's been unflattering on each loan spell. I don't think he's ever really done anything in a Leeds United shirt to warrant the amount of praise that he's received for 45 minutes in a dead rubber friendly against Nottingham Forest. There is a long way to go yet, and I think Daniel Farke did the right thing in terms of tempering expectations. I thought his words were brilliant. He said, hang on a minute here, we've got to manage these kids. For me, if Poveda was to leave tonight, it wouldn't bother me. I don't see what everyone else sees, and I hope I'm wrong. Listen, I called Somerville Jan Poveda 2.0 once upon a time, so I've been wrong on occasion, and I may
now
be wrong
Poveda's
again.
good. Somerville,
yeah.
You were right, Joe.
but what I will say, it's 45 minutes. Not for me, mate.
Well, then I'll rephrase the question. I'll rephrase the question to you.
Go on, then.
On what you saw in its own little microcosm, in that small spell,
yes,
and everything that's happened before, because Poveda has a long history of problems off the park, which has been his major issue, injuries and attitude. But taken from what you saw just in that 45 minutes and looking at him, let's assume he was a brand new player coming in for the first time. You're looking at him going, all right, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, he did all right. Yeah, he did all right. Yeah, but I remember he did a nice Cruyff turn though against Crawley Town once, and everyone were going, "Oh my God, he needs to play minutes," and then he just so. On that 45 minutes, he did more than what Joffy did. I struggled to see what Joffy's position is. I worry about him long term. I just don't think he's going to find a place in the side. To be honest, I don't know where he'll fit. Maybe we're not playing to his strengths, but we've got other players that we need to play to their strengths more. So I worry a bit with Joffy. But again, I think we gassed him up. Rooney. The comparisons are they stop and end at him being Scouse. That's it. Like and him being a bigger build. That's it, isn't it? Like I'm disappointed, but neither of them, mate. I don't want to be starting the season with neither of them in the 10. That's my honest assessment.
That's fair. That's based on historical facts, and that's absolutely fair.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Locky, what did you think of what you saw? And again, the comparisons between the two. The issue with Joff is exactly what Joe said, as well as his natural position. And unfortunately, we can't keep going down the rabbit hole of he's better in it too. Most teams don't play with 2. They just don't. So that's a massive problem for a striker who's better in a 2 than a 1, given that most teams aren't going to play a 2. So what do you do and where do you fit?
Yeah, it's a tough one with Joffy, innit? Because he's obviously got talent. It's just, like, you know, when he used to come on for Leeds in the last 15, 20 minutes, he changed the game at times. He's got that in him. It's that next level of being a consistent footballer in top leagues. It's what most struggle at. It's not the talent. It's you know, kind of overcoming that and being that guy that, you know, you can be. And it's the same with Poveda. Like, I agree with you in terms of, you know, we can't get too hyped on him. It is one game. But imagine, like, it's so annoying because if we didn't know before, imagine he was a new player and he came on for 45 minutes and did that, we'd be going mental. You know what I mean? We'd be like, who's this? Yeah. This guy's good. But because of previous and the fact that he's not even brought through Leeds yet, and he's been here for, 4 or 5 years? And he's never really had... Why is that? I think, like you said, it's a lot down to him. I think Farke's comments show that. He said that's fine, but he's got to prove it. Bielsa said that. It's down to him. The talent is there. It's down to him. Mick McCarthy said exactly the same thing. It's down to him. Can he keep working hard to be the player that clearly has talent? We saw that for 45 minutes. We need to see that for 30 games, 35 games, because he's clearly got that technical talent, you know. But I think, if he can impact a game like he did for 25, 30 games next season, is a real asset. But will he? I don't know. But with Joffy, I agree, struggling to get that. I think that was his chance to really nail down. And I don't think he nailed. I don't think he was terrible. No. I don't think he was. I just think in terms of attributes and what you need to be that position, you need to be good at building up from deep. And he did all right to show there a few times, but I just don't think he's that player, personally. I don't mind him around the squad, though. But, we do need a 10, 100%. We can't rely on either of them.
Yeah, no, I still think there's a spot for him as a second striker coming off the bench, but as we said, with half an hour to go. I would have liked to have seen him last night. I mean, I don't think we learned anything about Pat Bamford starting last night, outside the fact that playing 60 minutes means he'll probably start against Cardiff. But I don't think we learned anything new about Pat Bamford last night, and I think it was a wasted opportunity to give Joffy to run the 9 and see how would Joffy get on in this team, because we weren't putting big crosses in. Most of the crosses were low across the box, and you would imagine that would appeal to somebody with a lower center of gravity, somebody who's quicker in around the box, and that kind of ticks the box for Joffy. But again, wasn't given that option.
Some great crosses as well. There's some really good crosses.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that because I want to talk about Dan James as well. I put in some absolutely banging crosses last night. Max, your thoughts on the brief stint we saw Poveda for, but also your thoughts on Joffy?
Well, I think it was after the first game against Man United when Poveda came back, and did he play in that game, or was it only the Monaco one? Whichever one was his first game back.
Played for Man United, didn't play in the Monaco.
Good against Man United, actually.
So after that game, I think I said that I wouldn't mind seeing him on the bench this season as an option. Because I think that's as good as he is. He's a bench player at the moment. And talking about Joffy as well, he's more of a striker, so he sort of fulfills the aspect of Farke's number 10, where he wants him to get forward and make third man runs into the box, whilst the striker opens up that space for him to do so. And I think that could work in parts for him, but like people have said, he's not then involved in the build-up play. Poveda would be involved in the build-up play, but usually... he's not got that striker's instinct. He's not really the sort of player who does get into the box and get on the end of things. Yes, he scored a goal, and it was a really good goal, but that's, what's the saying, where it's the exception, not the rule. He's not always marauding into the box. He's not always scoring goals. We've seen over the last however many seasons. So for me, the number 10 needs to be a bit of a hybrid of both. Needs to be someone who's technical on the ball like Poveda, somebody who can make those third man runs into the box and score, but he's also a good passer of the ball. And that's what Norwich had in somebody like Todd Cantwell. When he was playing like that, he was young, flair player, technical, but he would also get into the box and score, and he also had a good pass on him to put other players in. We saw a few times last night when we were counter-attacking, when the player, for example, Poveda or whoever else, was trying to play that final ball through, they got the right idea by slipping it in between two defenders, but it just wasn't a good enough pass to get to Dan James or Sinisterra or whoever was on the wing. It just wasn't quite a good enough pass, and I think that will be an issue when you get opportunities like that to slide somebody like Dan James in with his pace. The ball's got to be good. And I think Poveda and Gelhardt both sort of don't really fulfill that aspect. So I think we do need another number 10. And I think it benches Joffy and Poveda, but I agree with what everybody else has said, that just means that there'll be good options off the bench. But I think we definitely do still need a number 10 in that role.
And taking into consideration, Poveda and Joffy were both players that teams that were pushing for promotion took on loan. Like when Poveda went to Blackburn, that was the point. Tony Mowbray had very good things to say about him, except he got a cruciate knee ligament injury and that ruined his time at Blackburn. Then he goes to Blackpool and has 3 different managers who all say positive things about him, but then there's these niggly little attitudinal things where, you know, sulking when you're not named on the starting 11, leaving the ground early, silly little things he just shouldn't be getting involved in. But McCarthy, who, as an Irish person and knowing how he handles players as well, you don't come back when you cross McCarthy. Poveda did twice and came back into the starting lineup pretty quickly after it, which either is an indictment of the Blackpool squad or it's complimentary towards what Poveda can bring to a team. He's put a tweet out tonight as well, an Instagram post out tonight as well, where it's a picture of him celebrating the goal with his head down, and the caption underneath is "Time will tell." So he's clearly a man with a bee in his bonnet and a point to prove. But he's at that point in his career, Ollie, where if it doesn't happen now for him at Leeds, he's been through Barca, he's been through Man City, he's been through a couple of other clubs as well. He's had his loan spells. He doesn't start to nail it down. And if he was ever going to have a chance to make it at Leeds in the Championship seems exactly the moment when he should be seizing his opportunity.
Yeah, no, I agree. But then I also agree with everyone else. Good game doesn't make you a good player. You know, I've had a good game. Doesn't mean I'm a good player. And
I thought you were after a good game.
No, but the thing is, right, it's the thing is with Poveda, technically he's there. I think it's just everything else. I think he'll be a great squad player. But like the rest of the boys have said, we need a new 10. Joffy, you know, how many managers and how many times have we said, we're just not playing him in the right position, we're not doing this. He's not a good enough player that you scrap all your system and go, I want to play with Joffy. He's not that player. And I think you're right. I thought we'd learnt nothing playing Bamford last night. Give him a go up top. But I think sometimes when Joffy's played, it's been a bit lackluster. It's been a bit meh, you know. But I do think that's a thing that Leeds fans do. In reality, we get these youngsters and we put too much pressure on them. How many times last year were the fans screaming for Nonto to come on? And when he's coming on, stand an ovation. And then when he doesn't do something, you know, we're like, oh, he's useless now. But the kid's young. He shouldn't be coming on to save the game. He should be coming on for minutes. And it's similar with, you know, there's a Poveda hype at the moment. And then next game, he might do nothing and people will want him gone again. So I think we're so quick to react. I wouldn't start any of them in the 10. I think they're 2 good squad players. Will they both want to be on the bench? Probably not. Joffy was playing a lot of football last year. Poveda, you know, historically has got a bit of an attitude problem and doesn't want to be on the bench. So I'm similar with Joe. If it came around tonight and said that, you know, a couple of them are going out on loan or they're getting rid of him, I wouldn't be the end of the world for me. I just believe we need to, you know, get someone else in the 10.
Do you know?
Go, Joe.
Sorry, it's just coming to my mind now, right? Like, but Poveda smacks of someone like Ravel Morrison, who, by all accounts, like Ravel Morrison was amazing. You know, he had time over in Serie A. He tried it at Borough. All these different clubs thought, you know, we'll be the club to unleash it. Some people, they have all the talent in the world, just don't have it up here. And you just have to list Poveda's teams that he's played for to know that this kid is obviously nectar. But he's not able to do it. Like someone said, over a 46-game season, you can't be. Yeah, and to bring back to what Liam Cooper is reportedly to have said, if you don't want to be here, then do one, in no uncertain terms. Then if Poveda's going to kick then go, mate, go. Do you know what I mean? I'm not here for it. And that's,
to be fair, wasn't that said after the last game? So Poveda probably didn't hear that bit.
No, but the point I'm saying though is like that stands with people like him as well. Do you know what I mean? If you're going to be like that, go.
Yeah. But I also think I agree, but that's again, Daniel Farke is the type of personality who will not take it.
No.
If he's here past deadline, maybe he's seen, maybe showing at training. Yeah, we don't know. We'll find out, won't we? I think
and I think we're all open to that. I think, as Joe's already said, I hope he proves me wrong, because if you take that 30 minutes or whatever it was, if you can do that more consistently, because clearly the talent is there, if you can do it on a consistent basis, you've got a hell of a player on your hands. But it's the if, and unfortunately, the if is a huge if, and it's a big gamble. Like I always say this, there's a man that I work with in my job, and a guy called Chris Smith, and he has this model that he uses for training people. It's called KSA, knowledge, skills, and attitude. And I've taken it and I use it for football training, and it's knowledge you'll learn, skills I can show you, but attitude is all you. And unfortunately, your skill and knowledge doesn't matter if your attitude isn't there. If you don't want to do it, I can't make you do it. Doesn't matter how good you are. So that's, I mean, Joe, you mentioned Morrison. You could also put in Hatton Van Arfer into that, Balotelli into that. There's
Tarak.
Oh,
Tarak.
Players they just go, someone's gonna get this right, and when they do, and I've coached players, and I've been with managers where I've said to managers, I don't get why you keep playing that player, and they'll say, because I know he's good and I'm gonna be the guy to get it out of him. Like, how many have tried before you? But it's, I mean, time will tell, as he said himself, time will tell. I hope it does work out for him, because I think there's a hell of a player in there, and I've thought it for a while, and I've really hoped that he would make a go of it. Needs to stay injury free and needs to sort the attitude out. If he does that, I think we'll have an asset on our hands. But again, it comes down to
he's still only 23 as well. I mean, we do think these things because of the history he's got, and because we've literally had proof and we know about it. But he still is only 23, and that, like, he's basically a kid, or was a kid when he was saying those silly things and walking out of stadiums and stuff. Maybe he's just a bit late to mature. I don't know. In 3 or 4 years, when he's 27, 28, hitting his prime, you might find that he's really just knuckled down and got on with things. And I hope that starts this season, because he could be a really good asset. And also, he's just really good to watch. It's not often you get somebody who it looks like somebody's controlling them with an Xbox controller and doing all the skill moves. Like, you don't actually see skill moves in a game, do you? But he's pulling them all out of the bag, step overs, and he was turning Forest players inside and out when he was doing it. It's like, oh, this is interesting to watch. You don't see many people doing this. It can work.
I agree with you, Max, as well. Like I said last night, it's the first time since Rafinha I've seen him stand up a defender and go at him. Yeah. Even Sinisterra just likes to, in a sense, try get round them with pace, stand James the knock and run. Whereas, like you were saying, Poveda, he was standing them up and then going.
Also humiliated, doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And the last person who did that was Rafinha, right? You know what I mean? Rafinha had that in his locker. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that. The other one I want to talk about as well, there's a couple of other things. I will get to to Liam Cooper's comments and Paddy's goal, but I wanted to mention Sam Byram as well. Coming in, there is some still, I won't say I have as hard a time welcoming Sam Byram back to the club as I would with Charlie Taylor, given the circumstance of the left, but they both had the same agent at the same time, both admitted they were badly advised. And Sam Byram left under similar circumstances the year before Taylor, but didn't put in a transfer request and didn't force a move, but still left. Seeing him coming back, he's been available for 50% of the games that he could potentially have played in over the last 9 seasons, which is a hell of an injury record to have. He has predominantly played left back when he was at Norwich under Farke. Farke rates him as a leader and as an asset in the team. Based on what we've seen in the last 2 games, Ollie, I'll ask you this. Do you think it's a free hit taking Sam Byram in? I mean, there's no fee. There's probably a low wages on it. He's trying to get a club. And if he can produce what he produced last night, at time, and Dan James linked up really well at times. And the times that they didn't link up, you could see it could happen, though, because the moves were being made and the space was there. What are your thoughts on Byram?
Yeah, I think it's a low risk potential, okay reward. I wouldn't say it's a high reward necessarily. I think that there's a player in Sam Byram. I think we're seeing that over the last, few games he's played with us. And I think it's just it's a bit of a no-brainer in my head. I don't know if he would necessarily start for me. I don't know, but I think there's an option there. And like you said, if it's free, I don't think he'll be demanding too much wage. He's played Leeds before. He's a leader. We need more leaders. So I think I don't know about anyone else, but I think that's just a pretty low risk transfer if we can get it done.
Yeah, well, on that, anybody else got any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I agree. Again, we're not sitting here saying you should play every minute, are we? We're saying as a squad option. He showed yesterday in this system he can do it. He's can't rely on him, obviously, given his injury record and his form in the last few years. But Daniel Farke brought him back for fitness. Clearly thinking maybe he can get a player back in there. If he believes in him and he can be an asset to the team in any way, I'm all right with it for a free as well.
I think as well, if he could stay fit, he'd actually be a really good asset because he can get forward, he can defend, and he's quite tall and physical, which we kind of have had to choose between those things in the last couple of years. When we've had Pascal at left back, he's okay defensively and he's quite tall and physical, but he's not very good at getting forward at all. And then when you've had Alioski or Firpo, good at getting forward, really not very good at defending. And Byram is pretty much not, I'm hesitant to say the whole package, but in like a muted sense, like he can do all those jobs to a decent championship level. It's just his fitness. And if he can stay fit, he's a good asset. Not much wages, like Locky says. It's a no-brainer, really. I think just to have a backup there, because at the moment, all we've got is Yelda, who can play left back, and obviously we have Firpo, but it's debatable whether he can play left back. So it makes sense to bring him in just in case we can't get a left back for the start of the season, just to have him there if he's fit right now. So at least he might be fit for the Cardiff game. Do you know what I mean? So I wonder, does anybody know, is he getting paid?
I don't think so.
I don't think he will be yet.
Because I was wondering how this
an invitation.
Yeah, because I was wondering how this works, because he's actually at the club using all the kit, playing in actual friendlies for a professional football club, and he's not on trial, and he's just training for fitness and all these sorts of things, which obviously seems like Daniel Farke wants to.
I think we can call it a trial now, Max. The fact that he's played 2 matches, I think we can start to call it a trial, even though it's not an official trial.
I think we're going to sign him very soon. I'll be honest. We're so close to the season.
That'll be the two that are this week, probably, won't it? It'll be Byram and Darlow.
Yeah.
Maybe he's one of the ones they had lined up. Maybe it's one of the players that was there. Joe, what do you think about the situation?
Sign him. I sign him up. No, serious. I'm serious with it. I really like the kid. I would love nothing more than him to have, because I just remember when he came in. And I loved him when he first came through. So, and I think he's shown us. And listen, I get sentiment FC and we need to raise the standards of this football club, that sort of stuff. But for me, for me, it's a no-brainer. Like, he gets the club. He's got wealth of experience. When you read an article from Graham Smith, he said that he was so vocal. The things that you might have missed. Graham Smith said he was so vocal throughout the game. I like the link up on the left-hand side. I don't see what everyone sees in Yelda, and I would start him at left back if we hadn't brought a new player in come Cardiff. I think he's earned that, and that's just my personal opinion. And I don't mind signing him. Leeds, man, it is what it is. Get them all back. Cook, Taylor.
We've also
does Eddie Gray fancy a game? I don't mind.
We've also been saying for quite a while we need more leaders, and if we have Darlow in net. He's known to be very, very vocal. Byram at left back, he's very vocal as well. He'll try and organise things. And then you've got Ampadu, who I didn't actually know before he came in. You can only see so much from statistics. He's actually very vocal and telling people where to go, giving instructions to the goalkeeper, saying, go to him. He's the option you should use, taking the stress out of the equation for some of the other players by organising them and telling them where to go and stuff. And I think when you start to put 4 or 5 of those in a team, that's when you start to get a really good promotion candidate. When you've got a team that we had in the Premier League, when it was Strauch, Koch, Firpo, and Ayling. Yeah, Ayling could be considered as a leader, but not in terms of actually organising things and being vocal on the pitch, particularly. We were bad because nobody was telling anybody else what to do. Everybody was just like, "Oh, should I go and mark him, or should you? No, go ahead, mate. Yeah, before." And then they've scored. And to actually have 4 or 5 players in the team who will actually be leaders, and Sam Byram being one of them, I think that'll be a really, really important factor that a lot of people overlook.
And Daniel Farke is clearly targeting, or the club are clearly targeting those type of players. Ampadu, leader traits. Darlow, experienced leader trait. Sam Byram, as he said, leader trait. They're going for that leadership before they kind of flare by the looks of it, because they want the core leaders, to be, when the game's going bad, obviously you need the flair players, but you need those guys around them and leadership. It's huge in the Championship, especially in the long season.
It's this data stuff, isn't it? They said they did a huge amount of data on, they hired a company to do data on what gets you out of the Championship. And they said that there was myths bust. But I think the myth busting thing that I've heard Square Ball have a laugh at it. And the most cynical, the last 2 Square Balls have been the most cynical Square Balls I've ever heard. And it's tough listening to, actually, for a podcast I love. The last ones I've struggled to listen to. But I think what they're saying about the myth busting thing is, it's not just a case of scoring your way out of the Championship. That's the myth. I think it's a case of actually putting together leaders on the pitch and getting 5 and 6, 7 experienced leaders, not necessarily just leaders, but experienced players who can play the kind of way that you want to play, and that'll get you out of the division. Having an identity, understanding what it's about. I think that's what it is. But I just,
it's probably not.
I was gone.
It's just going to say it's probably not a coincidence that these are defensive-minded players as well, given the fact that we've been so bad defensively.
Yeah,
you kind of leave the flair and the sort of creativity to the forward players, and you get the defense nice and solid, and it builds a foundation to go on attack and score. And I think we might be seeing the beginnings of something rather tasty.
Yeah, I was looking at him as a covering left back when he first came in. I thought, well, if he can get fit and if he can show the form, I have a Sam Byram shirt somewhere. That I was heartbroken when he left the club. I was like, how could you do this, Sam? You're one of us. What are you doing? But I think it'd be fine. The fact that he's wearing his old number as well, that also the nostalgia piece gets in there as well. Made him like, got to give him his old number as well. Give him a contract. Even if it's a 12-month deal, give him 12 months. Yeah. See how he gets on. I still think we need to go and buy a first choice left back, but if he can fill that gap until we get that, fine. No issues. I thought he was very good last night. I thought he was very good in the game before. And again, as Joe has already said, the inverted link-up play plays to a right-footed left back, funnily enough, because he's not going outside, he's going inside. So he's going onto a stronger foot. And then with Dan James being wide, you're getting those little flick balls from the right foot across the path into James. I thought worked really, really well as well. So maybe just in the last couple of minutes, we're getting to time, just real quick thoughts on 2 players. Coops made an interesting statement after the game, basically pulled back the curtain and told everyone what was said in the dressing room after Sam Allardyce, who apparently was given the keys to the city at Leeds last week and told he could have whatever job he wanted at the club. Yeah, man's delusional. But Cooper made comments when he left the dressing room. They told players, if you don't want to be here, you know where to go. You know where the door is. So there's a lot of hype in that. It's a great soundbite. Joe, you're a Cooper fan. I'm not going to take anything away from Liam Cooper. Is he a leader on and off the pitch? 100%. Absolutely he is. Has he been great for Leeds? Yes, he has. Should he still be in the starting 11 for Leeds United when the season starts? Are we starting to put halos back on people's heads who maybe shouldn't have them back just yet?
If anyone's guilty of that in the content creation sphere, it is me. I will say that much. I'll admit it. I do like it, but I did say on a video that I did earlier on, I still don't want him starting. If Strauch's going to stay, I see a chance for him to stake his claim as long-term partner to Creswell, potentially. Although I do think we'll go out and sign a right-sided centre-back. But how long now? How long have we said, or how long was it in our minds to have a long-term partnership of Strauch and Creswell? Yeah. I think we all thought that would be the long-term vision of Leeds United. I know I did. So, look, I was impressed by Strauch against Monaco. Didn't play yesterday. Not sure why he didn't sort of like start. It's the, you know, and then we've heard the Club Bruges stuff. So you just don't know. You don't know.
Came on,
Maybe
though,
he's,
didn't
yeah, but for me, I'd have rather seen him, you know, start from the start and start to see a partnership form as we get closer. And when I'm seeing Bamford, I'm seeing Ayling, I'm seeing Cooper, the more I'm thinking, Max, that's going to be your starting lineup the closer we get. And I just think, do I think Farke will? No. I think Farke will play Ayling. I think he'll play Cooper. I think the one that really is up for debate is Bamford. If we get, but I don't think we're going to have a striker by the time Cardiff comes around. So I think Bamford's probably going to have to start. But he'll want a few leaders in there. Like even at Norwich, you had the likes of Grant Hanley and stuff. They're not very good, are they? But you know,
the leaders thing at Leeds is a double-edged sword, though, because yes, we have some very good leaders, and we have in the past, but yet that leadership panel seemed to cause more problems than it solves for the club as well. And these are the same players that were part of that, obviously minus Rodrigo and maybe minus one or two others, but the bulk of them are still there. And the biggest issue we saw towards the back end of last season was this gap between the younger players and the senior players, and the way the senior players spoke to the younger players and dug them out when there was little mistakes that were made. Locky, do you think this should happen again? Do Cooper's comments yesterday change your mind as well about things? And I've seen everyone like, oh, captain, my captain on Twitter, but I've seen Dead Poet Society and I know that movie ends and it doesn't end particularly well. So,
no,
you know.
The comment like that doesn't make me change. He doesn't change his attributes as a footballer. But what it does determine is he is a leader. I don't understand people questioning that. I think it's obvious the amount of time he's been at the club, the amount of coaches and players who chose him every year to be the captain. It's clear he is a brilliant leader and he's the type of person I'd love to be a leader if I was at a club.
Say job.
Oh.
No.
Tyler Adams has a release clause in his contract of around 20 million, just been come out by Tom Bogart of The Athletic and co-signed by Phil Hay. So apparently
that means somebody has activated it then.
And then someone's put underneath my tweet I put earlier, Brighton, apparently. Maybe he's the Caicedo replacement.
That's a good show.
20 mil.
20 mil, that's nothing, is it? That's nothing. Sorry, Joe, I just thought you'd want to... I don't know if you edit this up after or whatever, but I wanted...
No breaking news. Well, the fact that it's been said means it's been activated. That they don't come out unless they're activated.
Yeah.
What were we talking about, Locky?
Sorry. I thought you'd have liked that, bro. I'm sorry.
No, I do. It's depressed the hell out of me, but also like,
There's John. That's what. Well, what we can do is buy a
positive
new
stuff,
now
Lucky. We're talking about positive stuff.
We can buy a new centre back with the Adams money now. But yeah, no. He's the type of player I'd love to be my captain at a club. Liam Cooper. He's not necessarily one you're looking at to say, oh, he's the best player in the team, but he's one when you're feeling down, you can go and speak to as well. He seems like a guy who can also do the loud stuff and do the quiet stuff. But I think, centre back's an interesting one. I think it's weird because I think Struijk, I'm fairly sure, played the most minutes before. That's why he might have been dropped yesterday. I believe he played quite a lot in the previous two, so maybe he'll play a full game tomorrow, potentially, or whenever we play next. Struijk's another player, isn't he? He's clearly talented. We saw that. We know that. Can Farke get that out of him? I hope so, because him and Cresswell I do like. Cresswell was much better yesterday.
That was very good.
He was very good on it. And I just think Early as well. That's so underrated in this side. Got to be good.
Just a side note, just on that real quick. There was one thing last night that I noticed about Cresswell that I really, really liked. He will pass the ball out from the back if he needs to, but if he's not happy, he will put his face through the ball and put it the length of the park, which I thought brilliant. That's exactly what we need to happen at times, and pick and choose. Real quick, because we are running out of time, but I want to wrap up because I know Joe's got.
I'll just say quickly one. I'll just 10 seconds. I'll just say the gap between the young and the middle. That's where the young and the old. That's where Ampadu comes in. He's a young player, but he's got the older mentality, so I think he'll help bridge that gap massively.
Good point. Just last one, Ollie and Max. Ollie, start with you. Pat Bamford sticking his fingers in his ears. Would I have done it if I was a player? 100%. Definitely would have. I've definitely done worse. I've said worse things to ex-managers when I scored. Is it advisable? Is it a case of it's a new season, Paddy, let it go? Everyone will forget about this if you start scoring a couple of goals. But if you bring attention to it, you're just bringing everyone back to where it was.
Yeah, exactly that. I think it was just a bit unnecessary. Yeah, people coming out and saying it's at the Forest fans. We've seen him do it before, and it's kind of just like, yeah, like it's a bit like, I'm not a massive Patrick Bamford fan. You know, he's one of the reasons we're in the Championship, and then just go and score in the pre-season and do that is kind of like no need, mate. There's no need at all. You're not that good to be doing that. I know people like Bamford, but I'm kind of just like, I don't know. I'm just thinking there was no need to do it. You scored. It was a nice goal. End it there. And then he's just gone and ruined. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed at him.
Oh, it's worse though. That's what that's worse as well. Like,
Exactly.
Just be angry at me. It's not only that as well as the body language as well. There was no smile when he scored. There was no clap. There was nothing. He looked really, really unhappy. And I've been in that situation where last year I kind of said when the season finished, I just think a break is better for everybody. I think he needs a fresh start, and I want him to have a good career, and I want him to go off and find his form again. I don't want him to be in this situation, so I kind of feel a break is best for both. But Max, did you have any thoughts on it? Did you think it was just ill-advised? Just get over it and move on?
Yeah, I think it probably maybe was at the Forest fans because he's from Nottingham, isn't he? And he's always had a bit of a thing with them. But it's just ill-advised. He probably didn't think, oh, this might look like the time I did it in the Championship to my own fans. Whatever. Stuff like that doesn't really annoy me that much. The thing more that I noticed about it was that the fact that his goal, he took it so calm, so composed. That's because it was a preseason friendly and there's no pressure. That's the reason. Yeah. It's the reason he did well in lockdown. There was no pressure. It felt like training games. He's scored a really good goal in a preseason friendly, sat the keeper on his ass and put it in the back of the net with his weak foot because there's no pressure, because it's a preseason friendly. If that's in the Championship, I think he misses. So it's like,
I don't think he tries it. I don't think he tries to drag back.
He doesn't have the audacity to try that in front of fans. Yeah, exactly. So, I think it's silly of him to do that. But
Joe, final word on this because we're just over time. But final word on Paddy.
I love that from Max because I was like, I'm listening to it, going, "Oh, he's falling for it," and then he went, if he were in Championship, he'd miss it. I was like, yes, a great build up to the crescendo. Yeah, all this talk of it being Forest fans by people on Twitter that weren't at the game, and when he actually does this, you can see Leeds United flags.
Yeah,
it's not in the Forest corner, I don't believe. I'm a bit like Ollie. Why are you doing it? I get it. I understand you got battered last season, and what you went through was not acceptable.
Unacceptable, yeah.
Unacceptable, definitely. But you're just up. It shouldn't be a case of you're just opening yourself back up to it. But ultimately, like Ollie said, you missed the penalty. You missed a gilt-edged chance against Leicester, and we win that game.
Points. That's 6 points, yeah.
You know, then that's us. That's us. And so don't, against Forest, be going like this. And he had, like someone said about no smiling, so like a smugness about it because you'd rolled the keeper. Let's see you do it against Cardiff.
Yeah, it wasn't like it was a game that got us promoted, was it? And it was a preseason friendly. Just leave it out, mate.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts on it. I just think we'd have all forgotten about it if he'd started this Championship on fire and scored 5-6 goals. We'd all be singing his name. No one would have a word about it. You do that, you bring everyone right back to the moments when it happened last season, and the negativity comes with it. You know, so ill-advised.
But Joe let him score 15 goals and then go like this.
Absolutely, and you know what? Then he's entitled to. Then he's entitled to it. Yeah, completely.
Not after one.
Yeah. Right, guys, got to wrap it up there. Massive thanks to Joe Wayman, Just Joe Show, Locky from Locky Leeds, Max from Leeds Lately, and Ollie Ward from the Ollie Ward channel. Max has got something he wants to say.
Just before we go, Dan James gets 10 plus assists next season if we've got a competent striker.
I think easily, yeah. I thought he was very good as well. Just a reminder to everybody, please go support the folks on this as well. You can check all their links to their channels will be in the description as well. Go check them out, go subscribe, support them. Back the Leeds content creating family because it's a fantastic community of people who do great work. So well done to everyone. Thanks for listening and watching, and I will be back on Monday with the news and next week with the podcast. So have a great week, have a great weekend. See you soon. Bye.